The deep hum of the Star Wanderer's engines changed pitch as the merchant ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge's control panels. Captain Reed's blue-tinted skin darkened with worry as he studied the readouts. Their primary fuel cell was failing, and they needed repairs before they could continue their journey. "Scan for the nearest port," he ordered, his long fingers dancing across the controls. The crew, all members of the highly organized Galactic Alliance, worked with practiced efficiency. They had procedures for everything, and this was no different. "Sir, there's a mining outpost in range," reported First Officer Mills, her feathers rustling as she brought up the station's details. "It's listed as abandoned 6 months ago, but the basic systems are still running. We should find spare parts there." The Star Wanderer approached the outpost, a sprawling collection of metal structures clinging to a small asteroid. As they drew closer, the ship's sensors detected something unexpected: life signs. "That's impossible," muttered Mills. "This station was marked for shutdown. Everyone should be gone." She double-checked the readings. 3 life forms in the maintenance section. Species unknown. Captain Reed followed procedure. They sealed their environment suits, armed the ship's basic defense systems, and prepared a security team. The Galactic Alliance had strict protocols about investigating abandoned stations. Too many had been taken over by pirates or hostile life forms. The airlock cycled, and the team entered the station. The corridors were dark, lit only by emergency lighting that cast everything in a dim red glow. Their boots clanked against the metal floor as they moved deeper into the station, following the life sign readings. They found the first signs of the mysterious inhabitants in a makeshift living area. Food wrappers with Earth writing. Pictures showing blue skies and green trees. A worn paper book left open on a table. "Humans," whispered Mills, her voice filled with a mixture of concern and curiosity. "We have humans on board." Before Reed could respond, a voice called out from around the corner. "Hey, anyone there? We saw your ship dock." The accent was unmistakably human, and the universal translator had no trouble with the English words. 3 humans stepped into view, wearing stained maintenance uniforms. They looked tired but relieved to see visitors. The tallest one, a male with graying hair, stepped forward. "I'm Tom, Station Maintenance Chief. Well, what's left of it. This is Jack and Anna." He gestured to his companions. "We've been stuck here for months after a shift change went wrong. The evacuation crew forgot we were doing repairs in the lower levels." The aliens stared at the humans, their training warring with the stories they'd heard about humanity. Humans were notorious throughout the galaxy, not as enemies, but as an unpredictable species that had somehow survived countless disasters that should have wiped them out. They were classified as a developing species, one that hadn't yet achieved widespread space travel on their own, but had been discovered when they started picking up alien radio signals and broadcasting their own. "You survived here alone?" Reed asked, his translator converting his musical language into English. "How did you maintain life support? The station's systems should have failed months ago without proper maintenance." Anna, a shorter woman with practical eyes, shrugged. "We rigged up some backup systems, had to get creative with the power distribution, but we manage. Tom's good with machines, Jack knows his chemistry, and I've got some engineering experience. Between us, we kept things running." The casual way she described what should have been an impossible task made the alien crew even more nervous. Humans were known for getting creative with technology, often in ways that violated what other species considered basic safety protocols. Before anyone could ask more questions, the station's ancient warning system crackled to life. A harsh alarm echoed through the corridors, and red emergency lights began flashing. Jack rushed to a nearby console, his fingers flying over the controls. "We've got a problem. Big ship just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. No identification broadcast, running dark, and it's headed straight for us." Mills checked her own readings and her feathers stood on end. "Captain, those engine signatures. It's a Ravager warship. They must have detected our stop here. The humans looked confused at the aliens' obvious fear. What's a Ravager? Tom asked. The deadliest pirates in this sector, Reed replied grimly. They leave no survivors, no witnesses. We need to evacuate immediately. To the aliens' surprise, the humans didn't show fear. Instead, they exchanged glances that somehow managed to convey both worry and excitement. How long do we have before they reach us? Anna asked, already pulling up station schematics on a nearby screen. 20 minutes, maximum, Mills answered. Tom nodded, a strange glint in his eyes. That's enough time. Captain, what kind of cargo is your ship carrying? Specifically, what industrial equipment do you have on board? Captain Reed stared at the three humans with growing concern. While his crew rushed to follow emergency protocols, these primitives were asking about cargo manifests and equipment specifications. The Star Wanderer carried mostly industrial supplies, mining equipment, repair tools, and raw materials. Nothing that would help against a Ravager warship. We have standard merchant vessel defenses, Mills explained, her feathers still puffed up with worry. But against a Ravager ship, they won't last 30 seconds. We need to evacuate now. Tom walked over to a console and pulled up the ship's inventory. His eyes moved quickly down the list, and a small smile appeared on his face. You've got industrial cutting lasers in your cargo hold. The ones used for breaking down asteroids. Yes, but Reed started to answer, but Jack cut him off. And those containers of mining explosives, the ones for cracking open mineral deposits. Jack's eyes had the same eager look as Tom's. What about pressure vessels, chemical storage tanks? Anna was already drawing something on a dirty maintenance tablet. Captain, your ship's got external maintenance drones, right? The ones that can move along the hull to do repairs. The aliens watched in confusion as the humans huddled together, pointing at Anna's tablet and talking quickly. Words like rewiring and overclocking and jury rigging kept coming up, terms that made the safety-conscious Alliance crew increasingly nervous. We don't have time for this, Mills insisted. The Ravagers will be here in 15 minutes. We need to. Actually, Tom interrupted, holding up the tablet. We've got a plan, but you're not going to like it. The humans explained their idea quickly. They wanted to convert the industrial equipment into makeshift weapons. The mining lasers could be modified to work as point defense guns. The maintenance drones could be reprogrammed to swarm attack. The chemical storage tanks could be turned into improvised bombs. That's impossible, one of the alien crew members said. Those systems aren't designed for combat. The safety protocols alone would take hours to bypass. Jack grinned. Safety protocols are more like safety suggestions right now. Besides, we don't need to bypass them. We just need to convince the systems they're still doing their normal jobs. Just aimed at a warship instead of an asteroid. The aliens watched in horror as the humans began to work. They moved with shocking speed, ignoring warning labels and dismantling equipment that cost more than some small planets. Tom's hands seemed to know exactly how to rewire each system, while Jack mixed chemicals with terrifying confidence. Anna coordinated everything, her military background showing in how she organized their impromptu defense network. Captain, Mills whispered to Reed, we should stop them. They're going to blow up the ship. But Reed was watching with growing fascination. The humans weren't just breaking rules, they were breaking them with purpose. Each violation of safety protocols was calculated, each risk measured against reward. They worked like they'd done this before, like turning peaceful equipment into weapons was something they practiced. The ship's sensors beeped another warning. 10 minutes until the Ravager ship arrived. Got it, Tom called out, holding up what used to be a mining laser. The safety casing was gone. Power cables ran directly from the ship's engines, and the focusing lens had been replaced with something that looked suspiciously like part of the cafeteria's food processor. Basic point defense system ready. Jack, how's the surprise package coming? Jack looked up from his work with several chemical containers. Almost done. Just need to make sure the mixture is stable enough to not blow us up, but unstable enough to blow them up. He said this with disturbing cheerfulness. Anna was at the ship's main console, her fingers flying over the controls as she reprogrammed the maintenance drones. Drone swarm will be ready in 5 minutes. They still think they're doing hull repairs. They'll just be repairing the enemy ship straight through their hull. The alien crew watched in stunned silence. These humans had done in minutes what their best military engineers would consider impossible. They had turned a helpless merchant vessel into something else. Something that violated at least 50 different safety regulations and several interstellar weapons treaties. The sensors beeped again. The Ravager ship was getting closer, its weapons already powering up. They expected an easy target, a simple merchant vessel to plunder and destroy. Well, Tom said, checking the connections on his modified mining laser, let's see how they handle a few human upgrades. The Ravager warship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with its weapons already charged. It was a massive vessel, covered in black armor plating and bristling with gun ports. Next to it, the Star Wanderer looked like a toy. They're broadcasting the standard surrender message, Mills reported from her station. Her feathers were pressed flat against her body in fear. We have 30 seconds to power down our engines and prepare for boarding. Tom looked up from his jury-rigged control panel. How kind of them to give us a warning. Anna, are the drones in position? Ready and waiting, Anna replied. She had positioned the maintenance drones in the shadow of the mining station, hidden from the Ravager sensors. They still think they're going out to fix hull damage. They're very excited about all the repair work they're about to do. The Ravager ship fired a warning shot that passed just over the Star Wanderer's bow. The message was clear: surrender or die. Jack, how's our special delivery coming along? Tom asked, his hand steady on the modified mining laser controls. Jack patted a cluster of containers that used to hold mining explosives. Ready to go. I've got them networked to explode in sequence. Should make quite a light show. He paused. Assuming I got the chemical mix right. If I didn't, well, we won't have to worry about the Ravagers anymore. Captain Reed watched these preparations with a mixture of horror and hope. The humans had turned his simple merchant vessel into something that violated every safety regulation in the Alliance handbook. But right now, those violations might be their only chance of survival. Incoming transmission, Mills announced. They want to speak to us. The main screen lit up, showing the Ravager captain. Like most of their kind, he was hidden behind a black mask, his voice distorted by electronic filters. Your time is up. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in immediate destruction. To everyone's surprise, Tom stepped forward. Actually, we'd like to discuss terms. The Ravager captain paused, clearly not expecting this response from a merchant vessel. There are no terms. You will surrender or you will die. See, that's not going to work for us, Tom replied casually. How about this instead? He nodded to Anna, who pressed a button on her console. The maintenance drones burst from their hiding spots, rocketing toward the Ravager ship. The pirates' sensors didn't even register them as threats. After all, they were just repair drones, programmed to fix hull damage. The fact that they were now programmed to create hull damage wasn't something the sensors were designed to detect. What is this? The Ravager captain demanded as the first drones reached his ship. Their industrial cutting tools, designed to repair hull breaches, began doing exactly what they were programmed to do, cutting through the hull. They just weren't particularly concerned about which side of the hull they were cutting from. Tom fired the modified mining laser. The beam, originally designed to break down asteroids, sliced through the Ravager's forward weapons array. The pirates had expected standard defensive weapons, not industrial equipment modified to ignore every safety protocol ever written. Now, Jack, Anna shouted. Jack launched his containers toward the Ravager ship. They looked like normal cargo containers right up until they split open, releasing clouds of metallic particles and chemical compounds. The clouds drifted toward the Ravager's engines, drawn by the magnetic fields the massive drives created. "What did you do?" Mills asked, watching as the Ravager ship's engine output began to fluctuate. "Mixed some mining chemicals with metal shavings," Jack explained. "Their engines are sucking it all in right now. Those particles are going to play havoc with their power systems. Also, some of those chemicals don't play nice with each other, or with engine heat." The Ravager captain was shouting orders, trying to deal with multiple crises at once. His drones were cutting holes in his ship, his weapons had been sliced apart by mining equipment, and his engines were ingesting a cocktail of industrial chemicals that were never meant to be mixed together. "You can't do this," the Ravager captain screamed. "This violates every combat protocol in the galaxy." "Yeah," Tom agreed with a grim smile. "That's kind of the point. See, we're not soldiers. We're maintenance workers. We don't know anything about proper combat protocols. We just know how to fix things and break them." The first of Jack's chemical mixtures reached the Ravager's engine core. The resulting explosion wasn't very large, but it was exactly where it needed to be. Secondary explosions began to chain through the massive ship's power systems. "I think," Anna said, watching the chaos unfold, "they're about to learn why you should never corner humans who are good with tools." The Ravager warship's engines flickered with unnatural colors as Jack's chemical mixture worked its way through their systems. Explosions rippled along its hull where the maintenance drones had cut through power conduits and fuel lines. But the massive vessel wasn't finished yet. "They're rerouting power," Mills called out, her feathers bristling with renewed fear. "Their secondary weapons are coming online." The Ravager ship's remaining gun ports opened fire, filling space with energy bolts. The Star Wanderer shook as several hits connected with its hull. Warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. "Hull breach in Cargo Section 3, an automated system announced. Emergency containment failing." Captain Reed gripped his command chair. "We need to retreat. Their weapons are too powerful." "Actually," Anna interrupted, studying her console with a strange smile, "this is perfect. Tom, remember that trick we used when the station's power grid overloaded last month?" Tom's eyes lit up. "The feedback loop. But we'd need—" "Oh." He looked at the flashing warning lights with new interest. "Captain, does your ship have emergency power rerouting systems?" "Of course," Reed replied. "Standard safety equipment. When one section loses power, it automatically pulls energy from other areas to maintain life support." "Good," Tom said, his fingers already flying over his modified control panel. "Because we're about to make those safety systems very unsafe." The humans worked with frightening speed. They weren't just ignoring safety protocols anymore. They were actively using them as weapons. Tom and Anna rewired the ship's power grid, turning the emergency systems into a massive energy net. Every hit from the Ravager's weapons fed more power into their improvised weapon. "Jack," Anna called out, "we need more of your special mixture. Can you modify it to conduct energy?" Jack was already mixing chemicals in a cargo container, way ahead of you. "This batch should light up like a Christmas tree when it hits their shields." The Ravager captain appeared on their screen again, his mask cracked from some internal explosion. "What are you doing? Our sensors can't even read your weapons. This isn't proper combat." "Really?" Tom asked, not looking up from his work. "Because from where I'm standing, it's working pretty well." He nodded to Jack. "Hit them with the new batch." Jack launched more containers toward the Ravager ship. These split open like the others, but the cloud they released glowed with captured energy from the Star Wanderer's modified power grid. When the Ravager's shields tried to stop the particles, they created exactly the effect Jack had promised. A massive light show that completely overloaded their sensor systems. "Their shields are fluctuating," Mills reported, her professional training overtaking her fear as she watched the Ravager ship struggle. "The energy feedback is disrupting their whole power grid." The maintenance drones, still happily repairing the Ravager's hull, had cut through to several key systems. Now those cuts became conduits for the energized chemical cloud. Electricity arced through the holes, dancing across the warship's hull and playing havoc with its internal systems. "This is impossible," the Ravager captain screamed. "You're just a merchant vessel. You can't do this." "See, that's where you're wrong," Anna replied calmly. "We're not just a merchant vessel. We're a merchant vessel with humans on board. And humans." She gestured to where Tom was rerouting even more power into their makeshift weapon. "We're really good at making things work in ways they weren't supposed to." The Ravager ship's shields collapsed under the strain. The chemical cloud seeped into every cut and breached the maintenance drones had created. Inside the massive warship, systems began to short out as Jack's conductive mixture carried the electrical feedback into their computers and control systems. "Final warning," Tom called out to the Ravager captain. "Leave now, or we'll see just how creative we can get with the rest of our tools. I've got my eye on that plasma cutter in Cargo Bay 5. And Jack here has some interesting ideas about what we could do with the fuel processing system." The Ravager ship's engines flared erratically. On their screen, they could see the crew frantically trying to regain control of their dying systems. The mighty warship, designed to strike fear into the hearts of all who saw it, had been brought low by maintenance workers using repair equipment in ways that violated every manual ever written. "I never thought I'd say this," Captain Reed muttered, watching the Ravager ship struggle, "but I'm starting to understand why the Alliance classified humans as a species of special concern." The Ravager warship limped in space, its once mighty engines sputtering as Jack's chemical mixture continued to wreak havoc on its systems. But like a wounded predator, it was now more dangerous than ever. The pirate crew had abandoned their automated targeting systems and switched to manual control, firing their remaining weapons with desperate fury. Hull integrity at 40%. Mills shouted as another blast rocked the Star Wanderer. "We can't take much more of this." Tom looked up from his modified mining laser controls, his face covered in sweat and engine grease. "Anna, how many maintenance drones do we have left?" "6, she replied, fingers dancing across her console. "The Ravagers managed to destroy the others, but these ones are still cutting through their secondary power systems." Jack emerged from the cargo hold, carrying what looked like a hastily assembled tangle of pipes and containers. The alien crew backed away nervously. They'd learned that when a human smiled like that, while holding improvised equipment, something was about to explode. "I've got good news and bad news," Jack announced. "Good news is I figured out how to turn the fuel processor's cleaning system into a plasma launcher. Bad news is we've only got enough power to fire it once." Captain Reed stared at the contraption. "The fuel processor? But that's not even a weapon system. It's just meant to filter impurities from the engine fuel." "Everything's a weapon if you're creative enough," Jack replied cheerfully. "Or desperate enough. Usually both." Another hit from the Ravagers shook the ship violently. Warning lights flashed as more systems began to fail. On the main screen, they could see the pirate vessel turning for another attack run, its remaining weapons glowing with deadly energy. "They're charging their main gun," Mills reported grimly. "One direct hit from that will break us in half." Tom looked at Jack's makeshift plasma launcher, then at Anna's drone controls, a plan forming in his mind. "Anna, can you get the remaining drones to cut through their forward armor? Right where their main gun connects to the power core." Anna studied her readouts. "Maybe, but they've adapted their point defense systems. The drones won't survive long enough to cut deep enough." "They don't need to survive," Tom said. "They just need to make a hole." "Jack, how accurate is that thing?" He pointed at the plasma launcher. Jack hefted his creation. "At this range, I can hit whatever you want. Once." The humans gathered around Anna's console, speaking quickly and pointing at different parts of the Ravager ship's schematics that the drones had mapped during their attacks. The alien crew watched in amazement as another impossible plan took shape. "That's insane," Mills whispered to Captain Reed. "They want to fire improvised plasma through a half-cut hole into a warship's power core. The timing would have to be perfect." Reed watched the humans work. They moved with the confidence of people who had spent their lives making broken things work again, who saw the rules of engineering as guidelines rather than laws. At this point, he replied, I'm not sure they know what impossible means. The Ravager ship's main gun reached full charge. Its energy readings were off the scale, enough power to vaporize a small asteroid. The pirates had apparently decided that if they couldn't win conventionally, they would simply obliterate everything in their path. Drones in position, Anna announced. The remaining maintenance robots clung to the Ravager's hull, their cutting tools burning through layers of armor plating. We've got maybe 20 seconds before they're destroyed. Plasma launcher ready, Jack said, his improvised weapon connected directly to the ship's power core. If this works, their own gun's energy will feed back through their power systems. If it doesn't work, he shrugged, well, we won't have to worry about filling out incident reports. Tom's hands tensed on the mining laser controls. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. The next few seconds seemed to stretch into eternity. The drones cut through the final layer of armor just as the Ravager's main gun prepared to fire. Jack's plasma launcher, built from spare parts in desperation, fired its single shot directly into the gap. The superheated plasma met the Ravager's power conduits at the exact moment their main gun tried to fire. The resulting explosion lit up space like a new sun. The Ravager ship's own energy turned against it, feeding back through its systems in a cascading chain reaction. Their mighty warship, designed to terrorize entire star systems, was being torn apart by maintenance equipment, and cleaning systems turned into weapons. I think, Tom said, watching the explosion grow, they just learned an important lesson about underestimating humans with toolboxes. The explosion faded slowly, leaving behind a spreading field of debris where the mighty Ravager warship had been. Emergency pods streaked away from the wreckage, carrying surviving pirates to safety. Nobody on the Star Wanderer made any move to stop them. They had bigger concerns right now. Damage report, Captain Reed called out, still staring at the destruction their improvised weapons had caused. The image of a warship being destroyed by maintenance equipment would stay with him for a long time. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 5. Mills reported, her feathers finally starting to smooth down as the immediate danger passed. Life support is stable but running on backup power. Main engines are. She paused, checking her readings again. Actually, I'm not sure what the engines are doing. The sensors can't make sense of the modifications. Tom looked up from where he was disconnecting his modified mining laser. Yeah, sorry about that. We had to convince the sensor systems that they were still measuring normal engine output, or it would have shut everything down. They're probably a bit confused right now. The Star Wanderer's bridge was a mess of rewired systems and jury-rigged controls. Tools and spare parts lay scattered everywhere, and the smell of ozone and hot metal filled the air. Jack's chemical mixing station in the cargo hold had left scorch marks on the deck plates, and Anna's drone control center looked like someone had rebuilt it with spare parts from a recycling bin. We should start cleaning this up, Anna said, already making notes on her tablet. The safety systems are going to throw a fit when we switch them back to normal mode. Plus, I think we violated about 50 different Alliance regulations in the last hour. The alien crew watched in amazement as the humans began to work. Instead of celebrating their victory or resting after the battle, they were already fixing what they had broken, putting systems back to their proper configuration. They worked with the same focused energy they had shown while turning those systems into weapons. I don't understand, one of the alien engineers said, watching Tom reconnect the proper power couplings. How did you know all this would work? The calculations for these modifications would take days to compute. Calculations. Jack laughed from where he was neutralizing the remaining chemical mixtures. We didn't calculate anything. We just knew the basic principles and figured the rest out as we went. Sometimes you don't need exact numbers. You just need to understand how things break. A warning alarm started blaring, making the alien crew jump. Anna calmly reached up and adjusted some wiring, and the alarm stopped. That's going to keep happening for a while, she explained. The systems are pretty unhappy about what we did to them, but they'll settle down once we get everything back to normal. Captain Reed watched all this with growing concern. The humans had saved their lives, yes, but they had done it by completely ignoring every safety protocol and engineering principle the Alliance held sacred. They had turned a simple merchant vessel into a warship using nothing but maintenance tools and creative thinking, and now they were fixing it all like it was just another day's work. The Alliance needs to know about this, Mills said quietly to Reed. If 3 human maintenance workers can do this in less than an hour. I know, Reed replied, watching Tom show one of his engineers how to properly reconnect the power grid. But what do we tell them? That humans don't see safety protocols as actual barriers. That they can turn anything into a weapon if they need to. A crash from the cargo hold interrupted them, followed by Jack's voice. Don't worry. That was supposed to happen. Mostly. More alarms started going off as the ship's systems struggled to understand what had been done to them. The humans moved through the chaos with practiced ease, fixing problems they had deliberately created, undoing modifications that shouldn't have been possible in the first place. Maybe, Reed said, watching Anna calm down another malfunctioning system with a few quick adjustments, we tell the Alliance that we need to change how we think about humans. They're not just another species learning about space travel. They're something else entirely. Mills nodded, her feathers rippling with nervous energy. And maybe we should start including tool access restrictions in our security protocols. Just in case. From somewhere deep in the ship's systems, another alarm started wailing. Tom's voice called out cheerfully. Don't worry about that one either. Just the safety protocols having a small existential crisis. They'll get over it. 3 days after the battle, the Star Wanderer docked at Alliance Station 7. The ship looked normal from the outside, but inside, evidence of the humans' modifications could still be found. Despite their best efforts to return everything to standard configuration, some systems had simply refused to go back to their original state. The ship's maintenance drones, in particular, seemed to have developed some interesting new ideas about what constituted repairs. Captain Reed stood before the Alliance Security Council, trying to explain what had happened. The council chamber was filled with representatives from different species, all listening with growing concern as he described how 3 human maintenance workers had turned a merchant vessel into a combat-capable ship using nothing but spare parts and creative thinking. And you say they did all this in less than an hour? One council member asked, their crystalline form vibrating with disbelief. 53 minutes to be exact, Reed confirmed. They might have done it faster, but they spent the first 10 minutes arguing about the best way to rewire the power grid. In another part of the station, Tom, Jack, and Anna sat in a maintenance bay, surrounded by curious Alliance engineers. The humans had been trying to explain how they had modified the ship's systems, but their audience seemed to have trouble understanding their methods. But where are the calculations? One engineer demanded, waving a tablet displaying the ship's modified systems. The probability matrices. The risk assessment algorithms. We didn't really have time for that, Tom explained, scratching his head. We just knew the basic principles and figured if we connected this to that, it would probably work. And if it didn't work, well, we'd try something else. Probably work. The engineer's auxiliary breathing tubes fluttered in distress. You can't just. You need proper procedures. Jack grinned, holding up a piece of the makeshift plasma launcher he'd built. Actually, you can. Sometimes the best procedure is no procedure. You just need to understand how things work, and more importantly, how they break. Back in the council chamber, Mills was showing sensor recordings of the battle. The council watched in stunned silence as the maintenance drones cut through the Ravager ship's hull, as the modified mining laser sliced through weapon arrays, as the improvised chemical weapons played havoc with advanced systems. This cannot be allowed, one council member declared. These humans, they turn safety systems into weapons. They ignore protocols. They modify equipment without proper documentation. With all due respect, Reed replied, "That's exactly why we need them." The Ravagers had every advantage: better weapons, stronger shields, more advanced technology. But they lost because they couldn't imagine someone using equipment in ways it wasn't designed for. The humans didn't win with better weapons. They won with better imagination. In the maintenance bay, Anna was explaining to a group of fascinated technicians how they had reprogrammed the maintenance drones. The trick was working with their existing protocols, not against them. They wanted to fix things, so we just had to help them understand that sometimes fixing things means cutting holes in enemy ships. But that's not fixing. A technician protested. That's breaking. Sometimes you have to break things to fix a situation, Tom said wisely. It's all about perspective. The council's debate continued for hours. Some members wanted to classify humans as a potential threat. Others argued for restricting their access to technical systems. But in the end, Reed's argument won out. The galaxy is changing, he told them. The Ravagers aren't the only threat out there. We need people who can think differently, who can see possibilities where we see only rules. Yes, humans are unpredictable. Yes, they do things that seem impossible. But right now, we need impossible things. The Council's decision was made official a week later. Humans would be officially classified as Technical Innovation Specialists, a carefully worded title that basically meant people who can turn anything into anything else if you give them enough time and spare parts. Tom, Jack, and Anna received their new Alliance credentials with amusement. They had been assigned to the Star Wanderer permanently, officially as maintenance workers, unofficially as a reminder that sometimes the best weapon isn't a weapon at all, but rather a toolbox in human hands. Just try not to modify my ship too much, Reed told them as they prepared for their next voyage. The safety systems are still having nightmares about last time. No promises, Jack replied with a grin. But we'll try to keep the explosions to a minimum. Unless, someone else needs to learn why you shouldn't underestimate humans with access to spare parts.